Good morning, live from New York. I'm starting to talk with a southern accent now. I could help you with that. Hey guys, listen. Excuse me. I wanted to talk today about do a little review about personal power, where it comes from, and how it is implemented. And I've been reading this book. I just finished it last night. The title of the book is Victory or Death, and a fabulous book about the Battle of Trenton in New Jersey, which turned the war around in the Revolutionary War. What happened leading up to that? Just a brief history lesson. The Americans drove the British out of Boston, so they had this first win up in Boston, and it was successful. But then the British sailed into New York with 400 ships and 33,000 soldiers, and they took over New York, and they kicked Washington's butt on Long Island, in Queens, forced him back into Manhattan, the island of Manhattan. They beat him up in Manhattan, and he had to retreat. He took all his soldiers. He was getting his butt kicked everywhere, and he took his soldiers to Pennsylvania. And but here's the point. At that moment, in his darkest hour, Washington was certain that the war was over. They were going to lose. And he was sitting in his and he had like about 5,000 to 6,000 men in Pennsylvania in the middle of the winter. It was December, cold. A lot of the guys don't even have shoes, believe it or not. And he's trying to hold after losing battle after battle after battle. He's trying to hold this thing together, and deep desperation. So they came up with an audacious plan to attack the British in Trenton. But in order to do that, they had to divide up the army into three pieces. One would attack from the south and from down south, direct onslaught, and then Washington was going to take 2,400 men, cannons, horses across the Delaware at night in a snowstorm. And I'm telling you, the only thing that kept this guy going in the middle, in that heat of battle like that, and the only thing that kept his troops going was that they said they would do it. That's the only way, because every logical bone in his body would say, stop, go away. It's over. We can't do it, right? Everything was against him. So what happened was they got in the boats, they went across the river, and then when they got to the other side, they had to march 9 miles in the snowstorm, and then they had to fight a battle. But it wasn't over then. What happened? They did win the battle. They took 800 prisoners, and it started a whole turn of events. Without that single win, we wouldn't be here today. We would be called the United States of England or something, right? But be clear, the source of Washington's power was his declaration. And starting out that battle, he had written out some passwords for his sentries. They post sentries. They don't have internet. They don't have cell phones. So they post sentries all around different areas. And the password for everybody was victory or death. You think about it, going into battle, knowing you're either going to win or you're going to die. And it's basically, I'm not saying you guys are going to, it's not the same level, obviously, of not the same magnitude, but every phone call, every customer, everything, you're either going to go for it or not. And the power in Washington, he went on, actually, after that battle in Trenton, they took the army back over to Philadelphia. But then they came back again because the British were came down from Princeton, an army of 8,000 British soldiers, and Washington beat them again in Trenton. Then he circled around behind them and went up to Princeton and beat them in Princeton. And this turned the whole war around. But be clear that the two things. One, the original power came from these guys in the Declaration of Independence. Again, just people like you, like me, like Randy, Linda, Todd, everybody. Just people with an idea. They had an idea they were going to start a new nation, and they declared it. Act of declaration started this country. The only way that Washington, and by the way, in the accounts from soldiers in the field, the ones that were historians, and they used to write, not like today we take videos of everything, right? But back then they used to write. And Washington, after his 10-day period from the Battle of Trenton through the battles of Princeton, he became a rock star, world famous general. They compared him to the greatest generals of all time. But he used to go out in front of the troops. So this painting was a depiction of him leading the troops. It wasn't fictitious. He was out there with his sword and the musket balls whizzing by his head. He never got touched, not one time. Which is like, he felt that it was divine providence. Was why he was able to survive. But be clear, guys. This is what I want you to really be conscious of today, that your personal power in your life depends on this move right here. So those of you that are practicing, making bold declarations like Washington, victory or death, right? Those of you that are practicing that, you're developing your power. It's like going to the gym. I can help you. I can help you. I can help you. We've seen the results all over the place. At Triple T, we've seen the results at Same Day. We've seen the results out of Family Tire, at Pat's. And this is like we're spreading this whole philosophy. But it really, the health of the business, the strength of the business, the revenue of the business, the results, the customers, all of that comes down to you and your ability with language to declare what you're going to do. And of course, when you're going to do it. So anyway, I wanted to have that little rant about personal power. Randy, any feedback, my friend? Any thoughts?
No, Dan, that when we study this and we move this dance, it's definitely, I call it the dance all the time, but I'm definitely stronger than I was a year ago. I'll be stronger than I am now a year from now. I've always made promises, and sometimes you bite your tongue, but you know what happens is when you make a declaration or you make a promise to somebody, and that integrity that's built into all of us kicks in, we're going to make it happen. And that's the cool part about what we're looking at right here is that we're able to see it in writing and see the things that we all want to do and what we want to be is right in front of us right here, right now.
Yeah, whatever you want. I love it, Randy. I love the fact you said you're stronger now than you were before. Fabulous. So am I. I work this stuff every day, all the time, right? And for you guys, whatever you want in your life, for your family, for yourself, right, is tied to these moves. So that's why I keep saying to you that the more you practice box one, box two, over and over and over and over, you build a muscle, you build endurance. Could you imagine what it must have been like to lose 4 or 5 battles in a row and to have your men, some with no shoes, and you're running out of ammunition, you have no supplies, you have no money, and you're in the middle of a battle for your life? Can you even imagine? The only thing that keeps that going is the ability to declare, and to inspire people. In the middle of that craziness, they had to go out. So they had, the way it worked is they had several generals, and then they had their, the colonels and captains. They had to go out. Washington had to inspire them, and they had to go out then and inspire the troops who wanted to go home. They want to go home. It's the middle of winter. The thing that kept them going is that they saw this vision for the future. And that's the same thing. That's what you guys have unlimited power to invent the future, however you want it. And it's in these moves right here. Declaration and promise. Declaration and promise. So let me go around the room and get some feedback from some of you. Chris Gibbons, any observations? Since now you've been with us, Chris, for a while. Are you there, Chris Gibbons?
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts, Chris, about this whole notion of personal power and the idea of practicing to develop it and like that?
I totally agree. I mean, it's just a little over 4 months. I can definitely see a total change and a continuous change in me, not just at work, but just in my personal life and just in my daily communication, basically. So, but it is definitely a declaration to stand on. And like Randy was saying, your integrity. You make that declaration, and now my character is building up off of that. So I got to make something happen out of that.
Nice.
Nice.
Brilliant. Really, 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 really good. Let me go to Ronnie. Ronnie, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Ronnie is a master at communication, and he's. I just say this. I want to acknowledge you as being a student and being rigorous with language, and I really appreciate what you bring to the table. What feedback, what thoughts, observations do you have that you can share with the group, Ronnie, about what I'm talking about today, personal power?
Personal power, it's all in the mind. It's all what you strive to do. Mine goes all the way back to my military days. They said I would never make it through basic because of my attitude. I was humble. And I had something to prove to myself and to them. I wouldn't quit. No matter what, I wouldn't quit. And that's what I tell myself now. I mean, I strive to be the best, and I'm not going to quit. It's a competition for me to beat myself, not necessarily the guy sitting next to me, but beat myself. Do better this time than I did last time, and that's just my attitude.
I love it. Love it. Yeah, really nice. Thank you, Ronnie.
Yes,
Steve Coward, do you have any insights since you've been working with us now for the past 6-7 months?
I just every day I'm learning and some new ideas and improvements on each session that we're having. It's very good.
Cool. Anything else, Steve?
Just the little ideas that you throw in, certain words, like I'm absolutely thrilled, or just little simple things that I keep in my vocabulary that I'm learning. It's just enhances to make the sell, and it's helpful.
We learn from each other, buddy. Believe me, I learn from you guys. And but the program is taken off, and I really have you guys, all of you, to thank. Let me hear from some of the newer guys. Farren, are you there, Farren?
Yeah, I'm here, Dan.
Hey, good morning.
How you doing?
Good. You've been with us now for a while. You show up pretty regularly. What thoughts, observations do you have about developing your own personal power?
Oh, I've come a long way with you. I've learned how to cut up with the customers and, make them where they come in here and ask for me because they like me cutting up with them and stuff, and just a lot of stuff.
You mean cutting up? You mean having fun with them?
Yeah. You can't if you can have fun with a customer, then you can make their day when it's bad be a good day. So.
No, I like that. That's cool. Thank you, Farren. Appreciate it. Galen, you've been coming now for a while. You there, Galen?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah. Good morning.
Morning.
What thoughts, observations do you have, if you want, to share with us about personal power?
I'd been doing sales previous to taking your courses, and while I was decent at it, my dance moves were very sloppy. I wasn't actually, building their trust or communicating what I wanted to do for them, and this has really helped me out in that way. Better linguist skills where I can actually talk to them and convey what I want to do and how I want to help them. Easier for them to understand and just make the whole process a whole lot smoother.
Well, you know what I want to say, Galen, that was brilliant. And let me share this with you that in my opinion, the most powerful thing a human being can do is to articulate their thoughts, their ideas for other people in a way that it opens possibilities for people, in a way that it's understood and it makes a difference. That's the most powerful thing, to articulate a vision, to articulate your ideas. And you just did it brilliantly, right? And it comes down to rigor with language, rigor with your emotions, rigor with everything. So I appreciate what you were saying. That was really cool. What do you think about what he said, Randy?
Well, you know what? I had to stop just a minute. I was waiting to get back here. Josh came in and he set the alarm, and instead of disarming it, he set it, and I thought it was fixing to go off. So I thought we was fixing to have a bunch of live action around here. But anyway, I'm sorry. I apologize. I know what I'm doing is I couldn't hardly wait to get back here to listen to this, guys. I had to stop for a minute, but everything I hear from all these guys that we're listening to, and I mean, I'm talking about, Ronnie and Galen. I don't know if Galen said anything, but Farren and Steve. But Steve, when I listen to Steve talk, I can tell that Steve's definitely in on it, and because I can feel him. He wants to know. He's always learning. That's the cool part about this whole thing. We're always learning something new,
The thing
stretching
I
ourselves a little bit.
the thing I loved about what Galen said, guys, speaks to rigor. It speaks to practice. It speaks to really working it, practice, and then you develop rigor. You develop rigor, and when you have rigor with something, and you have uh, uh, your approach, then you can fine tune it. You can tweak it. Like he said he was a salesman all along, but he lacked rigor. Isn't that what you said, Galen?
Yeah, I was just rough around the edges. I could get the point across, but it come off, I guess, on unintelligent points. I just didn't. It was kind of jumbled up and random. It wasn't as smooth as it is now. I'm
Polish.
sorry, I sound rough. I'm sick.
No, you sound great, and your thought process. I think what you're sharing is so clear. It's. I know that all you guys knew how to communicate on some level before you got here with us. I know that you were taught by your parents and you were taught in school and what. But I'm certain also that nobody ever sat you down and said, "Hey, if you want to live a powerful life, you got to learn some basics." And here's how you can practice. Here's what you need to practice in order to become a really powerful human being. And I like to talk about personal power because it all comes down to that for the company. For you in your life, it's about what? Personal power. For the company you want to improve sales, it's about what? Personal power. It's about you guys. You are the company, and your ability to work box one where you make your powerful declarations up here. I'm going to help you. I'm going to take care of you. My job is to be your car guy. I've got the perfect tires for you. I've got the best technicians to make power moves up here and to practice that over and over and over and over again. And then to incorporate the time element. We're going to go kick the British out of Trenton. When? Right now. We're going. Sunrise tomorrow morning. We take them on. Victory or death. Amazing. Let me go to Todd. Todd, the tire guy. Do you have any thoughts to share about personal power, Todd, for everybody? He's not there with us. How about Brian Padden? Brian's our illustrious analyst. listens to calls, more calls perhaps than anybody in the country on a monthly basis. What are your thoughts, Brian, that you could share with us about personal power?
I mean, I think the main thing about all of this is it helps them focus what they are trying to really accomplish. You know, they might be, before this, they might have been great communicators, but they didn't really maybe focus as much on, you know, fixing the problem or getting the customer in the door. They would just focus on, you know, maybe giving out information. And now they take this and they seem to be more focused on helping the customer, fixing the problem, and getting them in the door.
You know, it's interesting. I really like what you're saying, because it's kind of like before you have a roadmap, if this is the roadmap, box 1, box 2, box 3, this is the roadmap. This is the approach. You have a plan, you have a structure. It's loose, it's a structure. It doesn't mean you have to say every word in box 1 and box 2 or box 3. That's not what it's about. It's a structure. It's kind of like a roadmap. But before that, things are random in nature. I think that's what Brian's talking about. Brian, what could you, since you get people, you listen to calls. So when we start with a new client, what's it like typically with a brand new client when you hear brand new people coming into the mix, and then compare that to what you hear on the phone now when you're dealing with, you hear Chris, or you hear Josh, or Randy, or Ronnie, or Steve, or Todd, or whatever. What's it like in the beginning compared to what you hear now?
It's like night and day, obviously. But then, you know, it's dramatic change. It would be a dramatic change within 6 months. But then, you know, from the 6 months to maybe a year and 6 months, that's where I start to see the little subtle changes, you know, where you get the Randys and you get the Kyles, and, you know, they start to really make it their own. And that's where you see really the artistic stuff start to come out. But I see changes, you know, very quickly initially, just because, like I said, before this, they don't really seem to focus, you know, they just may be great at having conversations and talking to people and giving out prices and giving out, you know, free advice, but they were never really great at, you know, putting names down in the book, a name and a time.
I think what you're sharing, Brian, is really brilliant, and I really appreciate it. And so I think we can end the call here, get you guys off a little early today. And I just want to say, keep working it, keep practicing. Okay. And like Brian is saying, you know, over time, you will keep developing your power. The other thing is really, really, really important. And I think Brian would attest to this, and Randy, and people that listen on a regular basis. You got to listen to calls. The more calls you listen to, the better you're going to get. You're going to hear things. You're going to learn things from each other, from your teammates. So you use the SalesMax Plus application. Go in and listen to calls. Start out, you know, several times a week anyway. And you'll hear things that you like and you can borrow, and you'll hear things you don't like. You know?
And listen to customers, you know, listen on the phone too. I know maybe in the beginning it's hard because you're anxious about remembering the script and remembering exactly what to say. And, you know, after you get past that, that's when it gets easy. You know, it's really not that hard. Yeah, I can help you with that. Who am I speaking with? Oh, great, great. Let me check my sales. Good news. I can get you in at 10 or 2. I mean, after you get past, it's really not that hard. Then you don't have to think about that as much. And then you can listen, and you can listen to the customer, and you'll see. I mean, you guys are all smart. You're on the phone all day long. You'll be able to hear. You can hear what the customer wants. You just got to listen.
You can hear, in other words, what I think what Brian's saying is you can hear beyond their initial request. Their initial request is going to be about price or technology or inventory or something like that, right? That's not what they're committed to. So you got to listen to these customers and listen to what their real commitment is and deal with that. Your commitment, your promise, your declaration has got to be about their commitment, not about tires and brakes and all that other stuff. It's about helping them get on the road to take the baby to the doctor, to go on vacation, to get to work, to keep them on the road. They keep talking about that. So when Brian's talking about listening, you got to listen to what's really going on with them as human beings. And then one of you talked about having fun with them, and then having fun with them, and in having fun, making your commitment to take care of their needs, to keep them on the road. So anyway, listen.
Dan,
Yes,
Dan,
Ronnie.
I'm gonna say one. Just let everybody go in
Please.
just a minute. But what you just said, I just keep talking about that. What you said made me smile because you said, I just keep talking about this. I keep talking about listening to what is going on in the background, in their mind, in the background, listening to what they're not telling you. I mean, if you want to put it that way.
Yes.
Because that is what we have to keep talking about, because that is what we don't understand. And when I say we don't understand that, I mean, we hear you saying it, when we hear you repeating it, but I promise you, good enough never is. So we constantly are wanting to get better, and we should be getting better. And the way we do that is start trying to listen to what they're not telling us. Okay. And when we do that, I think we begin to understand. I smile when you said that, because I'm constantly in my mind today trying to figure out what is going on in the background that would make them have the presence in front of me, either in person or on the phone. What is going on in the background? I know their car is broke, but what's going on behind that? Okay. And when you can tap into that, you got more power than you can possibly ever imagine. Okay. And so that's
their real commitment. Their real commitment.
That's right.
Is the background stuff. Right.
Yeah. And that's what I'm striving to master, is to figure out and get past the part of, we can work on cars. We know how to do that. We know how to fix our issues with the car, but let's work on what is really going on. Okay. And when we can figure out how to master that, and which they're going in the right direction here. When we can do that, we got a lot of power.
I'll give you a quick example, guys. And I've been on the phone. I'm 67. I've been on the phone since I was in my 30s. Well, that's what I do on the telephone. So I've gotten really good at listening to customers, right? So I'll call up a customer. One of my customers, somebody like Randy or Danny Smith or whatever. I just got off the phone with Butch. Butch from Family Tire was on the call at 4:45 his time this morning. It was funny. So we had a nice chat. But my point is that I can hear instantly if they have time for me or if they're jammed up. Instantly. So if I get the right guy on the phone and I have an agenda, I want to pitch him on my service, on my product. If it's not the right time, if they don't have an opening, if they're jammed up, and I can hear that, it's the wrong time to pitch somebody. It's the wrong time to try and do something with somebody if they can't listen. So you really have to, if you listen very carefully to what the customer is saying, how they're saying it, you can pick up on really what's going on with them, right? And communicate with them more appropriately. Ask them the right questions. Well, I could tell you're in a real hurry, Randy. Wow. Okay. I'm here for you. I'm going to get this work done for you really quick. Where are you headed? You can pick up on stuff like that. That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, guys, listen, great call. I really appreciate some of the feedback I got from you guys. Galen, thank you. Chris Gibbons, brilliant. Randy, fabulous. Ronnie, Steve Coward, amazing. Really great, guys. Go out today and be bold. This is the point. Victory or death today on the battlefield, guys. Go for it. Just remember George Washington, and that's you. Today's your George Washington day with everybody. Go for it. Be bold. All right, guys.
Thank you,
Man,
Dan.
great
Thank you,
work.
Dan.
Thank you. Thank you,
See you
guys.
a little bit.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Be good.
All right, see you, man.
Bye-bye now.